So on our panelists tonight, we have Savage, we have Kimmy,
hi y'all,
Davi. Davi, you're still muted.
What's going on?
Latasha, all the way from Alaska, right?
Yeah, the sun's just setting here.
We have Daryl. Everybody knows Daryl. We have Rodney.
Hey.
We have Mr. Ev Jones.
Hello.
And we have Andrea.
Hi, guys.
Okay, so that is our panel tonight. Am I missing something? I don't know. Is Beth still on here? Beth, if she pops on, she is a panelist as well. I know she was having some problems connecting. So we're just going to jump right into this tonight. Like I said, it's the first time we're doing Curvy Scoop. I'm going to be your moderator. And I'm going to ask some questions to our panelists tonight. The topic tonight is meeting your significant other's family for the first time. And there's a couple of factors into it. Maybe being plus size or bringing a plus size BHM or BBW to your family. Maybe you're in an interracial relationship in your past currently. And sometimes, you know, there's relationships where there's a big age difference, right? So let's ask some questions. Let's pick your brains and see if you guys have any past experiences, maybe even current. And again, just be real, honest, uncensored. So the first question is, what concerns did you have bringing home a BBW or BHM for the first time to your family? So Kimmy, let's start with you.
Well, honestly, it was a bunch of things bringing them home to my family. It was the first time that I had brought a man around my children that was not their dad. So there was that. There was also the factor that he was Black. There was that. And also he's 6 foot and like 300 pounds and I'm a whole 5'1" rounded up. So there was a whole lot going on the first time I brought him home. So I was nervous, you know, how are my kids going to react to, you know, this man that, you know, they've never met before and they've never seen with their mom, but they know that their mom has been going out with. Because I'm of the opinion that you don't bring men into your children's lives, you know, that you're just initially dating them unless you know that it's going to be going somewhere.
Right.
So, you know, that was really scary. So it wasn't really so much the weight thing. It was really all the other things that I mentioned. And it was fine. You know, I introduced him. He was himself. He was charming and funny, and the kids instantly liked him. So it worked out.
Awesome. Great. Mr. Ev Jones, let's go with you.
I mean, for me, it was more, my family is a bunch of health nuts. So there was a lot of health concerns. But that was primarily it. Just making sure that, you know, that she was healthy. And if not, was I prepared to deal with those things and those types of concerns and issues? But outside of that, it really wasn't a major thing. It really wasn't.
Okay. Daryl, in any of your past relationships or current, bringing home, I mean, you as a BHM, did you have any concerns bringing home like a BBW to your family?
No, not really. You know, from the time I was a kid, I always loved BBW. So all of my girlfriends had size on them. So
okay.
That was never an issue. I grew, and as far as interracially, that was never an issue either, because I grew up with, you know, all races around in my neighborhood and in school. So I didn't.
So were you always equal opportunist? They just knew you for being equal opportunity?
Yeah, it didn't matter to me, so they knew that. They knew that. So it didn't matter.
Okay, Latasha.
Well, a lot like Daryl, I've always been an equal opportunist. So my family wasn't so concerned about who I was bringing home. They were just surprised that I was actually bringing someone home. So that meant he was special. And my boyfriend at the time happened to be Alaska Native. And so he hadn't been exposed to Black culture much. So bless his heart, he ate well. And he got to spend time with my entire female family. And as a surprise that I wasn't aware of, my father showed up. And he was the person in our family that had a big deal or made a big deal out of me wanting to date outside of my race. So I was very surprised that he was on his best behavior. He's former military and he didn't grill him to death. So everything started out on the right foot and it never became an issue. So.
Okay. Awesome. Davi, so I have a question for you about this. I mean, you are, you seem like a very fit type of guy.
Yes.
And so you bringing home, especially a woman of size, did you have concerns bringing them? Were you nervous bringing a plus size woman home to your family?
No. So my story, I've been big girl gang since forever. So before I even realized that, I guess liking bigger women was like a thing, it was just normal to me. So my family, they already kind of knew. My mom didn't really understand it at first. She kind of thought it was a phase. And then once we had a long conversation about it, and she pretty much just asked a bunch of questions because originally she thought it was an ego boost thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah,
He froze.
No, he's frozen.
It was about to get good. Okay, so while we wait for his connection, Andrea, have
Yes.
you had any of experience with as far as bringing home a BHM to your family? Were you nervous about introducing them?
I have not. I'm an equal opportunity dater, but I've always been the big girl that's being brought home.
Okay.
So I learned pretty early on that I am who I am. There's not much that anybody can do about it. I'm the only one that can change it. And to me, it's just one of those types of things where I don't much pay attention to stuff like that. It's more of a personality thing for me. I have had people, parents or siblings or whatever, say things to guys that I'm dating. But typically it's so in one ear, out the other type of thing for me. I don't get
Things like,
offended
what do you
easily.
mean? In what sense?
I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Normally it's sly stuff, I do remember one time there being a time where I was at a cookout with someone I was dating briefly, and his cousin or sister or somebody said something about me, making sure that I didn't get that third plate or something of that nature, and I was like,
Did you go get a third plate? Because I'd have got a third plate just based on principle. And
honey, I got
get
4
right in
plates.
front of 'em.
Okay, I got 4 plates and took one home with me. And messing around, her baby daddy hit on me 6 months later, and she better be glad I'm the person that I am, because he'd have been my baby daddy if she kept going. But I'm not like that.
Right. Okay.
So, but I mean, I'm not for everyone, and we're not for everyone. And, and the thing is I'm just thankful that I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm in the plus size community, and I see people that maybe aren't so comfortable the first time they come. And then the next time you see them, they're that much more comfortable and that much more comfortable. And it's just it's really a beautiful thing to see,
Mhm.
and it's man, that's really nice, because my parents didn't down me for my weight. My father wouldn't let my mother do that,
Yeah.
so I was never grew up and was told that being a BBW was a bad thing. It was just, you're a good person and that's what matters.
Yep. Savage, I'm going to come to you. So, I mean, I don't really know. Do you date BHMs? Have you brought a bigger guy home? And if so, did you have any concerns?
Well, there's no concerns. And for some reason, big guys do not like, they don't hit on me. I really get hit on like skinnier dudes. And I want to say it's probably, I'm going to be honest, I feel like I'm kind of intimidating. Just the way that I take myself out there and I'm like just outgoing and I'm just myself. I don't hold anything. I tell you how it is and it is what it is. So on the interracial part, I have always dated basically mixed. They're mixed Puerto Rican with black. My first was Puerto Rican and black, and when I brought him home, I got a lot from actually with my brother. My brother and my mom were like, "What? I didn't know you like the dark skin and da 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 da." I'm like, "What is it to you? Like, it's what I like.
Right.
You don't got to hate them. It's my preference."
Right.
So I always had like a clash at my home when I bring someone, and I don't care because it's what I like. It's who I'm gonna be with, who I'm gonna sleep with. It's me. I'm the one that have to wake up to that person, not them.
Right. Absolutely.
And my first son, he's actually full Puerto Rican. And it was the whole like, they were like, okay, you're going for like, full blooded. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying something out just for you. And then it worked out because it's not really what, and I don't see it as like a color thing. It's what I like. It's mostly, I like someone that's funny, outgoing, just like me. I don't want to be prude and be home and doing nothing. Like I could be a couch potato, but I want to be with somebody that's funny and outgoing and not just both of us just looking at each other like, why are you here?
Right.
It's mostly about personalities. And I did date a big guy once in my life, but he didn't want no children. And that was before I had my kids.
Right.
So that was a no-go for me. I wanted kids. He was an older gentleman and he just said, I have one daughter and that's all I want. So I said, you know what? Let's just cut it up right here because it's not what I want.
Right.
So
why
when you're
waste
in a relationship, and when you're in a relationship, it's supposed to be about both of y'all, not about what he wants or what I want. It's what we want as a couple and to grow as a couple. So on that note, I had to just let it be. And a lot of people's like, oh, you're just a little shallow and you only date, slimmer dudes. And honestly, that's not it. It's just, that's what come to me. And I'm like, all right, you cute. All right, whatever. It's not about, if it's a big dude, I like the whole broad shoulder thing. And it's just a preference. So like she said, like everybody's not for everybody. Exactly. To me, I could look at myself in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm the shit. But to another person, be like, no, girl. Get out of here with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Okay, well,
everybody's different.
Davi, you ended up getting cut off. So you had said your mom thought maybe this was a phase that you were going through, and then you guys, when she realized it wasn't a phase, you guys had a long talk.
Yeah, so she thought it was a phase, and I got the whole, I don't know, she thought I was talking to the like big girls in high school and shit like that because they were insecure and it was an ego boost. And I like told her straight up, I was like, do you realize how dumb that sounds? Like, I'm not going to purposely put myself in a situation where it's going to be a headache for me because I'm dealing with a bunch of insecurities. And then not only that, like I also had to tell her, like, just because I talk to bigger women does not mean they have low self-esteem or anything like that. Like, I've been with some plus size women that got hella confidence and ego. So that's not really something I deal with. But once we had that talk, that kind of stopped. I know from my grandma, because I typically date white women or Hispanic women, she for a while was kind of like, it would be easier if I dated Black women, but I also had to tell her, like, I talk to who talks to me at the end of the day, and I like what I like. So it is what it is.
Okay. So this question is going to be for the ladies on the panel. For us plus size ladies, right? You know, those of us that have like some junk in the trunk who maybe are not as comfortable in every type of chair, especially chairs that have handles, right? So we have so much like anxiety beforehand when we go places sometimes. Like, is the chair going to be comfortable? Is the couch going to be too low to get up off the ground? So when you're going to, you know, your significant other's house, their family's house for the first time, you have no idea what their furniture is going to look like. So do you like ask your significant other beforehand, like, hey, so what do the dining room chairs look like? Or, you know, like, am I going to be comfortable, or is it going to be one of those chairs, if I sit on it, it's going to break and I'm going to be completely embarrassed in front of, I mean, these are valid questions that a lot of us probably think about, right? But so, like, Kimmy, have you asked beforehand, or do you just go and hope for the best?
Well, let's start with the couch situation. I ain't but this big, so it's never going to be an issue getting off the floor for me. I'm thankful when it's low furniture, because I'll be honest with you, when I sit in a regular chair, my feet, they dangle. I'm like a little 2-year-old in this chair, you know, so I'm thankful for the low furniture. But as far as the other chairs, like, you know, my biggest fear is the plastic chair. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Usually got them on the back porch, you know what I'm
And
saying?
you're praying.
Yes, like, please God, do not let the legs bow out and me end up on my ass on this ground. Like, you know what I mean? You say that little prayer before you plop your ass down in it, and, you know, just hope for the best, you know? Honestly, I've never asked about the furniture, because I've just always been like, fuck it, you know, I'm gonna go and I'm either gonna fit or I'm gonna stand. So that's really where I am with that.
Okay. What about you, Latasha?
So I never had to worry about it going to a significant other's house, because I usually laugh it off if I have an issue getting up or getting out. But I actually work for a major retailer, and I had to fly 3 and 4 times a week. So asking for a seatbelt extension and buying my own was my solution to that. And I had no shame about it. I had to get on these pedal jumpers and I just go, whatever, this girl got to fly and I ain't trying to go down with the rest of y'all. So I got my seatbelt extension and rolled on. But funny enough, I'm just a little bit taller than Kimmy. And I had to go to some far out Alaskan places. And I worked with an all male team, and I'm fluffy. And God bless, the store manager showed up with this big ass Ford truck, and he was like, Tasha, get in. And I was like, I don't think so. So my market manager pulled out his cell phone, and the store manager went to the back of the truck and said, I have a solution. And he pulled out a cinder block. Needless to say, I had to step on a cinder block and throw myself into this big ass truck. So let me just tell you, I went to every store with fear in my heart that I was going to have to jump in a truck. I never thought I cared about side steps so much in my life, but I do now. And, you know, stores are not built for everybody. They're not meant for comfort, period. So everywhere I went, sometimes I was the last person to get up out of a chair. If the chair wasn't right, and God forbid they had wheels on it, I would just slide over to a wall and just be like, let me just hold on so everybody's ready to go, you know? And my male coworkers were very conscious of it, but bless their hearts, they actually figured out, you know what? She's figuring it out, so we're not gonna give her a hard time. But when it was funny, God, they would laugh. So we just all laughed together.
Right. Okay,
yeah.
Andrea, how about you? Have you ever worried about, you know, what type of seating was going to be at like your boyfriend's house, family's house? The chairs were going to be comfortable.
Typically, I go with full knowledge that if there's a small plastic chair, and I say small, but it's regular to other people, if there's a small plastic chair on the patio, I am not sitting my ass in that chair. It's just not happening. Simply because my hips won't get past the arms. So what's the point of even embarrassing myself enough to try? And typically when I've gone to a significant other's house or a guy that I'm seeing, it's almost always like an outdoor type of thing. I live in Florida, so everything is outdoors. You know, like you have 50 or 60 people. Who wants all those people in their house? I know I don't.
Right.
So, you know, it's always like a backyard thing or like a neighborhood block party or like, I mean, I live in Ocala, it's the country, so a field party, you know, so I bring my own chair, my $65, 600-pound weight limit, plenty of seat of side space on the, not getting stuck in this chair anytime soon. So I bring a chair with me. And but I have seen.
But what if it's not an outdoor event and you're going to be sitting at a dining room table, and some people have still those chairs with arms on them, right? So what do we do in those cases? If you can't fit, what do you do in that case?
I'm a comedian by nature, so typically I'll say, well, all this sexiness ain't gonna fit in that chair, so do you have something without arms? I mean, you can't miss it. Like it's not, you can't miss the fact that I am 340 pounds. Like this is not like a stray hair or gray hair. Like this is not something I can hide. It is who I am as an individual.
Right.
And I've learned to accept it. And if my bigness makes other people uncomfortable, like I don't know what to tell them. I'm going to ask for an armless chair, or I'm going to stand up and eat this fancy dinner, and that's just going to be how it is. Because I'm not squeezing all this into that antique chair and breaking it. It's not going to happen.
And Andre, you keep your chair in your trunk just for like situations like that? Because I keep my chair in my trunk just in case, personally.
I do. Yeah, I have a chair that I leave at my house, which is the one I'm sitting in now, and then I have one in my trunk. And I mean, to me, it's just more of a convenience type of thing. Like I said, I mean, I live in Florida, so I go to a lot of outside activities anyway. So I might as well just keep a chair in there anyway. We'll go to the river, we'll go to the beach, we'll go to the lake. And I'm not sitting on the ground because I don't like bugs. I'm living in a bad place for that, but it is what it is. So, I mean, I bring my chair with me, and my chair has a side table to keep my beer or my whatever alcoholic beverage I'm having to consume because of the children that are around me. So
she's gonna bring that camping chair right up to that dining room table too.
I'm bringing that camping chair, honey. It's happening.
Okay, Savage, have you ever ran into any issues with chairs or seating or anything like that?
With the chair situation, it's not just that I am big, but I have fibromyalgia. So having fibromyalgia is in the nervous system, so I can't really have, even clothing bothers me. So sitting somewhere for a very long time, it's not going to be comfortable at all, not just by my size, just because of my condition. Yeah. So with that being said, it's either I stand or I just go home. Yeah, that's just simple how it is. But with my baby's father, when we used to go to his grandparents' house, he already knew. So before anybody put any food, anything on the table, he already had removed one chair and put the chair that might be more comfortable for me. And everywhere I go, I've always felt that I didn't have that challenge just because everyone already knew how I was, or they make it, be like, oh, everything was just already there for me. I've never had that kind of issue but like the chair situation, being out in the park or even just a regular picnic table bothers me. Just sitting on something very hard bothers me. So it's either just go home or stand up and do my best. And then if I stand up for too long, I might be in bed for the next 3 days. Right. Because I have fibromyalgia.
Okay. This question is for the fellas. So for those of you on the panel that have brought home a plus size woman, did any of your family act negatively to your significant other where maybe it made them uncomfortable, and how did you handle it? Davi, I'm going to start with you.
I had never really had that problem. I also was really big on letting my family know, like, y'all not finna do that. So it was never really an issue. Because I've always,
let's say they had, if they did, and it, maybe they didn't say something directly to her, but the person could feel it. It was visibly upsetting them. How would you have handled that right in that situation? Would you just have left?
I would have checked them.
right in
Because
front of
as I always say, like whether it's my mom or I don't know, a sibling or something like that, if I respect your people, respect my people. Like we not gonna do that.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
What about you, Rodney? Have you brought home a plus size woman home? And how did your family react to it? Did they act negatively? If so, how did you handle it?
Again, I'm like most of the men here. I didn't have that problem because in my family there are already plus size women. All my aunts, everybody's plus size, and typically the men in my family were not, but the women were. And so when I brought home a plus size woman, par for the course, they were used to that. And we dated all throughout high school for 4 years. I lost my virginity to her. Like it was the whole 9 yards.
So you have a special place in your heart for BBWs. I mean, you lost your virginity to the first one.
Absolutely. Like in high school, I was a jock, so I played football, and she was 5 foot, 380 pounds, but I loved that girl to death in high school. You couldn't tell me anything about her. You couldn't tell me she wasn't the finest thing walking. So for me, I didn't realize that plus size women was a thing because I just viewed them as women. I didn't put an annotation to them. It's just a woman that I liked, and to hell the fact that she's bigger than some of the other women around, who cares? So for me, I do have a special place in my heart. Like I said, my family members are plus size women. I've dated, the skinniest person I ever dated, ironically, was my ex-wife. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. But then, before her and after her, it's been plus size women. I love plus size women. And again, I don't view them as plus size. I just view them as women that I like. I like more pushing for the pushing. So,
Okay. Daryl, I'm going to go with you've probably never had to experience, you said that your family's always been used to you dating plus size, so they've never really acted negatively towards a significant other, right?
No. And plus, even if they did think it, they would never say it because of the way my mouth is. They knew they would get cut up. So
Daryl's mouth is set up.
Yeah, the way my mouth is set up, that just wouldn't have gone down. So no, I never had that. Never had that issue.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
Now,
I'm sorry.
Friends, that was a different
we're
thing.
gonna get to friends. We're gonna get to friends next. So
I think for me, because I'm kind of like the patriarch of my family, no, I don't play them games. Watch your mouth.
Okay, so they just knew not even to go there.
Yeah, we're not even gonna play like that.
Okay. Well, I admire you guys for definitely making it known to your family, like, this is what I like, because not all men, especially in this community, not to downplay people, but it's the truth. I mean, there's a lot of men who are comfortable with it, but there's a lot of men that aren't still comfortable with dating a plus size woman, and they don't take them home. And sometimes, it's a sad situation because they're not man enough to just tell their family, this is what I like, this is who I love, this is who I'm going to be with. And hopefully that'll change in time still. But for those of you that do step up, we all, as BBWs, thank you and appreciate you for that.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
So let's see the next question here. This is okay. So for everybody here, did your relationship with your significant other change after your family had met them? And if so, how and why? Just raise your hand if that's been something for you. Like, no, everything's all good. Savage, go ahead.
I mean, for me, it got better actually, because my family fell in love with her as a person. She's warm-hearted, she's kind, she treated me well, and that's really what my family cared about, someone who's going to make me happy. So they didn't look at her any other way, So you would have came in there size 2 but treated me bad, oh, you would have got business, because my people don't play either.
Okay. Savage, I saw you raise your hand too.
Yeah, my issue was when I was with my baby's father, some of his uncles were kind of loose in the mouth. And I'm the type that I don't hold what I gotta say. Even though my baby father was like, well, this is gonna happen and he's trying to prepare me, I'm like, well, do you really want to go? Because I don't keep my mouth shut. He's like, oh, well, let's just go. One of his uncle was just rude. And what's funny to me is that his wife is plus size. So I'm like, if this is how you talk to me, I could only imagine how you treat your wife.
Right.
And
She accepts it.
exactly. And some, I hate to say it, some just have really low self-esteem and just happy that they are with someone and they'll just take it, and then there's some like me that I'm like, I'd rather be by myself than be mistreated. So me and him used to go at it every family function. And then my baby's father's like, really? You can just let it go? I'm like, well, couldn't he just let it go? Like, why do I always got to be the bigger person?
Right. Right.
I'm going to tell you where you can go and tell your wife what you wanted to tell me. But what's funny is that when my baby father wasn't around, then he wanted to be sweet.
Right.
I'm like, you're funny and fake as hell. Like,
Right.
just get out my face. And then when I would tell my baby father, he's like, oh, no. I'm like, I think he wants a piece on the low and is trying to be funny.
He's trying to clap them cheeks. Stop it.
That's what I'm saying. He's trying to get some, but be funny, like be nasty in front of my baby father so he can be like, oh, he don't like me.
Right.
And when my baby father goes in the kitchen or somewhere else and he's like, oh, yeah, no. Okay. I don't play that. I'm not a nasty woman to go ahead and be with, no, what? Okay. Got me messed up.
Now,
but it's funny how it goes like that sometimes, that they could be, okay with dating somebody big, but not okay their nephew or anyone else dating someone big.
Right. Okay.
Now, my kids' dad, their family, when they found out, one, he's Mexican. When they found out, one, he was dating a white girl, and two, she was a short little fat white girl, they used to give him shit. Like, he did not want to bring me to meet them because they would literally give him shit. But he finally did bring me to the house, and everybody kind of got to know me. They talked to me, and then they fell in love with me, and I'm still friends with a lot of his family to this day. Like, me and him forever ago, but his family still loves me. So I think that it's important, like in that kind of a situation, when you're meeting their family, they feel some type of way about you, just go and be yourself, and they're either gonna love you or they're not. And I wouldn't stress it either way.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's think back to, like, if any of you have ever been in an interracial relationship, like your very first one. Okay. Was that hard to bring up to your family? I mean, yes,
No.
it's like more common now than ever, but years and years and years and years ago, when maybe it wasn't as common, was it hard for some of you to introduce a white or a black man to your family?
No.
No. Does anybody
No.
have a yes?
I have a yes.
Okay.
So growing up, my family, who I love from a distance, very racist, very, very racist. My first interracial relationship was with my kids' dad. Like I said, he's Mexican. And they used to talk cash shit. Oh, Mexicans this, that, and the third. And I was so nervous to bring them around because I was scared they were going to come out their mouth sideways, and have something to say. And I was just finally like, fuck it. They're either going to accept them or they're not. And if they don't, then I'm out, And so I brought them around. And initially they were real standoffish. Like, they didn't want to talk to them. They didn't want to interact with them, and, on the low, they would like say some slick shit to me about it. And then, they never really accepted them. So I chose to distance myself from my family because of
Yeah.
that. Because, you know, growing up, I've never like was that way. Like, I love everybody. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sexual preference you have. I don't care about any of that. You know, I love you until you give me a reason not to, you know? So, yeah, it was definitely an issue.
It's hard too, especially when your family doesn't.
It was, but you know, for my own mental well-being and, you know, to raise my kids in a safer environment and things like that, I love them from a distance. That's how I put it best.
Okay. Latasha, talk to us.
So I had an interesting experience when I was younger. My dad, like I said, was in the military, so he was pretty hardcore about everything all the time. And as you can see by my mouth, I really didn't care for that. So I was always bucking the process. And I didn't have very many friends that would come to my house because my father would always have something to say, or it was punishment time. So no one would ever come to my house. And then I had this one friend in junior high, and he was a nice white boy, and he did not, you know, he didn't care. So he asked where I lived, and he came to my house, and we were sitting on the steps, and my father came out and said, "It's time for you to go home." And I was like, "It's not time for us to go in yet." And you know, this young man, bless his heart, you know, he has some cojones about himself. So he was like, "No, actually, you know, I'd like to spend a few more minutes if I could, please." And I think you know, my dad was like, "What? Like, who are you?" And so he let him stay, and he came over a couple of more times, and he was just a really good friend to me. And I ain't gonna lie, I was crushing really hard on him. And one day after he left, you know, my dad said, "You know, he can't come back by here anymore." And I said, "Well, why not?" And he said, "Because he's gay." And I was like, wait a minute, newsflash, like, wait a minute. So first of all, like, all my crushing had to come down, and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to process. I don't understand what you're telling me. And I'm thinking he and I need to have a talk because I'm not getting these vibes. How come I'm confused? And then I was like, you do realize that no one comes to my house, right? To see me. And he was like, yes. And I was like, and it's because of you. I was like, so you need to go work that out. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be back here. And I'm going to talk to him about all this other stuff. And so I did. And it turns out, yes, he was gay. And I just didn't know. And that was okay. Figured that out and worked that out. You know, I thought it was going to be a thing. It wasn't. And that's okay. But he was still my nearest and dearest friend. And he actually convinced a whole bunch of guys to come to my house a few times as a group because they couldn't do it alone, and knock on my door when my father was home so that he would, you know, potentially be a nicer guy. That never happened, but not till I became an adult and had blessed him out a few more times in life. But yeah, no, he had a hard time with, my dad really had a hard time with it when I was a teenager. But like the irony is that he has grandchildren that are mixed race now. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a problem with that. So we taught him in that case.
Good. Anybody else have a story about that?
That's what I say also. That's what I say also, because like I said, when my first was half black, half Puerto Rican, but he was really dark skinned. So they thought he was just straight black. And they already gave me hell about it. And then every boyfriend that I bring is either mixed or black. So they had to get used to it. And then my first child, he's Puerto Rican, but my second, he's half Puerto Rican and half black. So I would always make jokes like, oh, if my grandmother was here, or if my grandmother right now is seeing me, she's rolling in her grave because she got a mixed child, you know, grandkid. And my kids, they look Spanish because, of course, Puerto Rican, we all come in different shapes and sizes and curly hair, straight hair, whatever. But it's always been a big deal to my family if me bringing someone that is not quote unquote Spanish. They make it seem like, oh, it's because we can't communicate. I can translate. That's not a problem. You know, and I've really never got hit on by a white guy. I want to say only one time when I was younger, but I didn't know how to speak no English at all. That's when I just came from Puerto Rico. So I've never in my lifetime have I ever like dated a white guy just because I don't think I'm their cup of tea.
Mhm.
I think I'm just too bright and outspoken for a lot of people. And
Right.
it takes a it takes a good man with his cojones and his place to actually be with someone like me.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mr. Jones, have you ever dated a white woman and brought her home?
Yeah, yeah. So, like for me, it's proximity, right? Like my mother's 60. She was born in 1960, right? So she innately has a fear, because of the era that she grew up in. And like sometimes I think that we judge our parents harshly, not taking into consideration like how they grew up, when they grew up, the things that they're accustomed to, and the things that they're used to, and those divides that were put in place that they had to deal with most of their lives, and we just expect them to adjust to our decisions. So a lot of times, like with my mom, very specifically, because it's just she and I, it's a very candid conversation. She expresses her fears. I express to her like, my position, how I feel about it, and she has to deal with it. At the end of the day, it's a different time. It's a different era. We're not, there are things that we deal with, sure, but not in the same vein of that fear that she has. Right. So it's there, and I know it's there. She knows it's there, and when I'm dating in that capacity, I make sure that my partner knows that it's there, and we have a very candid conversation about it.
Right. Okay. Dobby?
So for me, besides my grandma, besides her just, I guess, asking or trying to figure out and, I guess, guide me towards dating within my race, it was never really an issue on my side. But I will say the first girl that I called myself loving back in middle school or whatever, her dad was like legit racist. So that was an interesting it was interesting to like navigate in that relationship, because it was a lot of us sneaking around to like go to the movies and stuff like that, because at first I didn't even know, and then somehow it ended up coming out and it kind of became an issue. And then my mom and my grandma ended up finding out, and they were like, yeah, you need to dead this, because this could potentially end up really bad. And I was young, and you know what they say, what a heart wants, you'll go after it. So it was it was very interesting. But I know since then I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, like I said earlier, I typically date Hispanic or white women. So
yeah,
my kids, all three of them are mixed. So
Daryl,
my family knows.
Daryl, I know your family doesn't have an issue, but anybody that you've dated that maybe you've met their family, was there ever an issue as you being a Black man? I mean, Daryl's kind of like beige one, but I know he checks off that he's Black. So has there ever been an issue?
Well, yeah, I guess so. You could tell the apprehension, but usually because of my personality, that usually went out the window soon.
You won them over.
Yeah.
But did it make you feel like, how did it make you feel at first? Like, was it uncomfortable, or were you just like, whatever, and you just continued on being Daryl?
No, I mean, I did have issues, and there were times that I did have some serious qualms about different things. Mm-hmm. But on the whole, the type of person that I am, I always like to talk to people. So if there was, yeah. So it became, once they met me and seen how I was, usually those kind of stuff went away.
Right. Okay. So we are going to try to wrap this up by 9. I have a couple more questions that I want to try to get through really quickly through the panel. So I guess, have any of you dated somebody that there was a really huge age difference? Okay, so we have a few. All right, Andrea, let's start with you. How did that go over with your family?
My family is kind of, first of all, we're not a very close-knit family, so the opinions of aunts, uncles, grandparents never really mattered much to us when I was growing up. I've only ever dated Black men. The occasional white guy sprinkled here and there. Hispanic men love me, and I mean, I'm not impartial, you know, so, but when I was 18, about to turn 19, I met the man who's my ex-fiance now, and he was 30 years older than me.
Mm.
And my mom was a business owner, but she was also very traditional in the thought process of like how, you know, relationship roles should go, and the man and the woman and this and that. And she wanted someone that could provide for me and that could take care of me and all those things. And she loved him. And my dad and him got along really well. And that's mainly because he was almost my dad's age. But at the same time, like, we ended up never getting married because right before we were supposed to get married, I walked in on him cheating on me. So I'm like, okay, I'm 20, you're 50. I literally do everything for you, and it's still not enough. So I'm like, you know what? We're not going to do this again. Like, I do like older men, just because I have a really big issue with young-mindedness of people that live in the area that I live in. It's a small town, so everybody knows everybody and everybody's in each other's business. And I'm like, I find if I go a bit older than what I am, I get the peace that I'm looking for instead of the dramatic.
Right.
I mean, my sister married someone that was 14 years older than her. To me, I'll be 40 next year. As long as you can buy me a drink and rent a car, so 25 years old in Florida, like, I'm okay with that, you know, like, but also I live in Ocala, which is about 30 miles from the Villages, like the biggest 55 and over community. If you have one foot in the grave and one on a banana peel, I'm not going to turn down a date from you, you know, like, I mean, it is what it is. Dating and sex are two completely different things. Like, I can enjoy the company of someone who's 25, just like I can enjoy the company of someone who's 55.
Right.
So I feel like personality doesn't really have an age per se. You know, like, I had a great relationship with my fiance, but unfortunately he had a wandering penis. So it is what it is.
Right. Okay, so you like older men. Have you met Daryl? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay.
Go marry off real soon, Daryl.
You know, she's going to be until I'm in the ground, and she's going to keep teasing me. So that's okay. She already told me that when I get older, she's going to put my wheelchair in the corner facing the wall.
Facing the dumpster. So, Latasha, I think you raised your hand too. Did you date somebody with a big age difference?
I did. And just to set the stage, my mom married my dad, who's 5 years younger than her. And my sister married someone who's 3 years older than her. And I was always like, nope, I need an older man. And it was actually when I was 39 and the young man was 25. And what happened was, it was the holidays. And you know what happened in the holidays? You always want to, you want to cuddle up. And in Alaska, it's dark, okay? So I fell for it, and I started to catch feelings, but I was like, nah, this doesn't mean anything. Well, a year later, I fell into a coma. I caught pneumonia, and people were texting my phone, and my middle sister, who was my person, had my phone. And when she could give me my phone back, she threw the phone at me and she's like, listen, I'm tired of talking to you. Or no, I'm tired of talking to your friends, and I'm tired of talking to all your male friends who want to check in on you. She goes, but that Aaron guy, I kind of like him. And then I was like, what? So I went through and looked at the messages, and I kind of chuckled at them, and I sent him a message when I went home a month later and told him, hey, I'm home, you can come by. And I didn't know how much feelings I had really caught until he came in the door and he was like, we almost lost you. And I was like, oh, and I was doing something. So I was looking down and I was like, oh, you caught feelings. And then I was like, oh, I guess I caught feelings too. So we actually hung out for about 2 years, and things were really well. And we only broke up because, and this is the irony of it all, we were horse playing around, and I don't really do horseplay. And I turned around and I pretty forcefully put him in his place, and that scared me. So I had to let him go. And he still checks on me from time to time to make sure that I'm doing well, but he was actually a learning lesson for me. And will I date younger now? Absolutely. A lesson learned. Don't just put your mind on something, because life has a way of teaching you to like something else.
What was the age difference
yeah.
in that, Latasha?
I'm sorry, what?
What was the age difference between you and him?
I was 39 when we first started seeing each other, and he was 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Does anybody else have a story about dating somebody much older or younger?
That's my problem. Like, for some reason, I can't ever find someone that's like my age. They're always younger. And I even said this year, from now on, since I'm single, I am not dating anyone younger than me, because it is a mentality thing. There is some younger guys that have a good mentality, like an older dude or whatever, but it's not the same. Because when arguments come, here comes the child. And I already got two, I don't need a third. Like, no, and it's always been 3 to 5 years of difference. And then this year I was talking to someone and he actually was 12 years younger than me. And I'm like, I'm 39. I'm 39. And even if I put myself out there like on these like apps for like dating or whatever, I get hit on by like 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds. I'm like, what is it about my face that says, hey, young kid, little baby, come talk to me? Like, I've never get hit on by like a good, I'm 39, like at least 40, 45, whatever. Never. I've never gotten hit up by
I think
anyone.
they're all married and having midlife crisis right now. Like, give it another 5 years when they're done having a midlife crisis with Tiffany, who's 19 and his secretary, and you'll be fine. It's okay. Because I'm in the same boat, girl. I'm like, seriously?
I always guess, say, oh, you look like you're 25. I like, thank you, but I'm 39. No, thank you.
But there are strong women that want those younger guys. But that person's not on the panel tonight. So, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I dated an older woman, much younger, a long time ago. I think I was 22, 23. She might have been 34, 35. Fucked up my life. Like, I was gone off this woman. When I tell you, it was not a pleasant experience. It was not. Like, I wasn't ready. She was more than ready. And I think everybody has that one relationship experience that determines how they move in their, moving forward in relationships. She was my one, and she made me a beast because she wasn't shit. And but man, the sex was amazing, and you couldn't tell me shit. You couldn't tell me nothing until listen, until all her older friends, older man friends, like when you're young like that and you're just trying to figure life out, and then you date an older woman, and then all these dudes got jobs and cars, and like, I'm 43 now, but back then, like, I was totally intimidated, just trying to keep up. and she took advantage of that and like kind of just she taught me a lot about me, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the type of man that I wanted to be versus like I was a super sucker for love back then. Like I was all hearts and love letters and teddy bears and shit. And yeah, that don't work. So so shout out to her.
I've been on both sides. I've been where I was the younger one, which
You've been younger in a situation?
don't really stop. Okay.
I mean, how
But
much
yeah,
older was this lady? I'm just saying.
this was years ago. But
Oh.
yeah, it was interesting when you was dating somebody that was older. She was older than me, and she had kids that were older than me. You know,
Just don't even talk.
yeah. So yeah, and then I've been where I've had women younger than me, 16 years. So and that's interesting only because you worry at because of the age difference, you worry that is she going to continually be interested in me or still find me attractive.
Right.
You're looking at it now and it's like, yeah, this is fun now, but you get older and it's like, yeah, somebody's gonna be around their age and they're gonna be like, yeah, man, let me put the old man to bed and I'll be out.
Right. All right, we have like 2 or 3 more questions, guys. So let's get through this quickly. So this is gonna kind of be about friends. So when did you realize that you liked a bigger woman or a bigger guy? And did you get ridiculed by your friends? How did you deal with that situation? Because friends can be real assholes, especially at a younger age when you first come out that, yeah, I like that plus size girl. And, some guys at that time are just like, why? So have any of you guys experienced anything about being ridiculed by friends for liking a plus size woman?
My very first boyfriend in middle school, him and his friend had a bet that he could not kiss me in middle school. And it's funny because it never happened until we were in high school. And then my very first apartment, he and I shared together. So that bet turned into like a 4-year thing all through middle school and high school. And he's off to better lands now. Thank God. But I thought it was, and he never told me that until we moved in together. He was like, this is the best $20 I've ever won. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, me and so bet that I couldn't kiss you and make you my girlfriend. And I won $20 and like a really great girlfriend. And I'm like, yeah, but you had a kid when you were 17 and it's not mine. So like, am I really that great? Like, so it's, I haven't experienced it from my friends because like most of my friends are plus size women. And the only man I've ever dated that was of any size is my last boyfriend. And he's not even, he's big in height, but he's not like huge. He's not like a big guy. Like,
right.
He's 6'5" and like 300 pounds, but he's not, I don't know, I guess
He's not, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my opinion. But of course, that's just an opinion as well. So, but I mean, I've been on the other end of it where friends have said stuff, but I mean, otherwise, I've never been on the end of it for myself.
Okay. Tavi, what about you?
So I know back in middle school, I guess when it became a thing that I liked big girls, because to me, back then I was just like, my mom always taught me, you like who you like, it doesn't matter, race, color, whatever. But the chick I ended up like falling in love with in 8th grade, to me, I thought she was like the best looking chick in school, like didn't think twice about her weight, no nothing. And then all of a sudden, because like I played sports in middle school and stuff like that, so I was kind of the cool kid. And then all of a sudden it became this thing of, oh, he's dating a fat chick. And I'm like confused as hell because I'm like, what? I'm lost. Like, and even back then, like, it was a thing of I was like, okay, I'm lost. Like, this is a girl. Y'all talking shit. Like, is it really because she's fat? Like, I'm confused because like that shit didn't matter to me. But at the same time, as I got older, especially in high school, and once people, whether they were my friends or not, really kind of just saw that like I liked what I liked and I didn't give a fuck about what anybody else had to say about it. They just the comments would stop.
Yeah, they left you alone about it. That's good.
Yeah, because you can't keep talking shit if it don't faze me.
Right.
Mhm.
And I was one of them dudes in high school. I walked around proud with my little chubby chick. Like,
kudos to you. I love that.
Absolutely. Every day for lunch, me and mine was by the portables kissing. You couldn't tell me nothing about it.
Exactly. You couldn't tell me nothing.
I'm holding her in the hallway. I'm carrying her book to class. Like, I'm doing everything. You couldn't tell me nothing about it.
I was studying for my little 8th grade dance with my little girl. I was like, shit. We both look good.
I love it. Anyone else have anything to comment on that?
I have the opposite of that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because even if I've always been big, I'm going to be very honest. I've never had, basically, I think it's because of my mouth. I've never had that someone being bullied or bullying me because of my weight. And I've always hung out with boys. Like, even in high school, I was called grandma because I was taking care of everybody basically. And it was like 15 guys and me hanging out, going to the club. I was always one of the boys. So I've never had that. But then the whole thing when she said, there was a bet. When we all split apart, there was a bet between 4 of my very best friends who can get with me in the bed, because they're like, oh, she's not the type to give it up. So we're gonna do a bet to see who was gonna be the slickest and trying to get in there. It never happened. You know, it was most of them trying to get with me than really me being felt like I was getting disrespected because over my weight. Because like I said, with my mouth, I'll put them in their place, and I'm just very witty with it. Like, I don't just sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm chunky, I'm fat, I can't sit in a chair. Yeah, what else can you tell me? Like, I already live it. It doesn't matter. Okay. But I've been very outgoing and stuff. And like I said, I've probably only dated one big dude because they really never approached me. I've always gotten slimmer dudes. And then it was worse by my homegirls, because I have homegirls of every size. And then when they see me with a dude, or they're like, where the hell did you find him? He's so fly. And I'm like, what do you mean? Where did I find him? It's not like I got a catalog and start looking through the catalog and
they're so surprised that you can find someone attractive. They're just so surprised.
Shocking, right? Like, how does a fat girl get a cute guy?
I'm like, I know he's finer than your man, isn't he?
And it's
people are always
like that.
Oh,
and
your
I'm
man's
like,
so cute, right? It's like, what, the fat girl can't get a cute guy? Like,
exactly. Well, we get the cutest ones.
Right?
It's like, oh, how you did that? I was like, what are you talking about? Just, I'm being me. What can I tell you?
Okay,
well, the thing is when we're in middle school, you have to develop a personality, and people are attracted to personality. So that's how it happens, like, looks can only go so far. Like, at some point in life, there's going to be no looks and no bodily functionality for sex, and you're going to have to like the person that you're sitting across from.
Right.
Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Right. So this question is, in the size acceptance community, do you think that Black men are fetishized like BBWs are?
Yes, absolutely.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Most definitely.
I just think that Black men are fetishized, period. So it doesn't matter what community you're in.
I think that's talk that shit, bro.
I think that's true, but I will say, in this community, it does kind of feel like it is kind of hypersexualized. Because I can tell you right now, at some of them bashes in the pool, I have been groped on in ways I could never imagine.
And you hated every second of it, right?
I mean,
It's multiple bashes. You went back to the bash.
Listen,
Like, this again.
but at the same time, I mean, I was intoxicated, so I didn't really pay no mind. But it is very interesting.
So why do you think
it's
black men are, or why do you think this is?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
I know for me, I think it's more so because
everybody.
I feel like black men and Hispanic men, but I think more so black men, we are more open to being with and loving like a plus size woman openly.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of comes from our like culture and just our family as a whole. Like I have plus size aunts and family members. Like that shit was normal to me. It was never a thing of, oh, you're fat. Like it was just my aunt, she had big hips, or my grandma, she was bigger or whatever. So that it was just a norm.
So
because it's normal to us.
I am going to say I was trying to find at least one white or Hispanic guy to be on the panel tonight, and no luck. I couldn't get any white man or Spanish guy to come on the panel. I wanted it to be a very diverse group. And I think if we had found maybe a white man, maybe some of these answers would have been a little bit different. Maybe they would have encountered some more problems with bringing home a BBW, because like you guys are saying, from what I'm hearing, is this was kind of normal for you guys. Your aunts, your grandmothers were plus size, some of them, most of them maybe. So it was normal. Whereas this could have been a different conversation for a white man.
They were Hispanic. Definitely Hispanic. Because
right.
I know, I'm gonna tell you personally, my mother's, a big girl, and my dad is not a slim dude, but my dad goes on my mom like, oh, you're eating too much, or you're doing this too much, or I never got picked on by anybody else but my family. Like my grandmother, forget it. Like it was horrible. Like they think big women, like it's okay for the men to be big, but it's not okay for a woman to be big.
Yeah.
Like, and then what it's really kind of funny is that I'm okay with it. Like I'm okay being big, and it bothers them that I'm okay being big. I'm like, why? Okay, perfect example. I went to my mother's house after going shopping, and I had a crop top and a skirt, and I had belly hanging out. My mom had a fit. She's like, where did you come from? I said, from the grocery store. She's like, wearing that? You're big, right? I'm like, yeah, and I know I'm showing belly. What's the problem? To me, it's not a problem, but to her it is. And then my brother, someone showed my brother one of my pictures from Facebook, and he's like, how dare you post that? That's disgusting. I'm like, what? You disgusting. Just because of your mind is so shallow and so small that think everybody has to be a size 2.
Right,
and
cutter Barbie.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I'm
family really be the worst. They be the worst ones. Because I know at 8 years old, my stepmom was putting me on Slim Fast. 8 years old, put me on Slim Fast. Grew up telling me I was this, that, and the third. No one was gonna want me. I was big as a house. You know what I'm saying? Like, family sucks sometimes.
My brother used to tell me, in middle school, he's like, you're hitting high school and they're gonna put you in a dumpster because you're fat and ugly. Wow. I'm like, I'll put them in a dumpster. What are you talking about? If I'm fat, I could pick them up. It's not gonna be like that. And he's like, just watch. I think it's like a phobia thing when it comes to Hispanic and being around a big woman. They think it's like not the cutest thing in the world. They're like, if they have a slim, thick, and she can wear this and that, be like, oh, that's my trophy wife. She could be like the most horrible woman, but because she has a nice body and she can wear a bikini, it's okay to them. Like that's what I've seen growing up with my family.
Put your
I'm sorry?
cross top on and come on.
That's right. This is everywhere. Like I'm holding and
Just
grabbing
because you look like
everything.
Joe Biden.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
my
Come on.
family was never
so we
outright
all
rude about it.
we all agree then that
Okay, she look like Joe Biden.
Black men are fetish like BBWs in this community more so than anything. I know that, you know, I've seen some occasional white men make comments sometimes that we don't include them in stuff in the community. And Lord knows I tried today to include a white man into the panel today and I couldn't find any. So they just kind of like lurk in the background a little bit. You know, if they want to be recognized more in the community, they need to step up because all of the Black men in this community, I think, really go hard for the BBWs. And for the most part, I think are pretty proud to be with one. I mean, there are still some closet people regardless, but I think Black men do show the most appreciation for plus size women. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, the women are attracted to it, they're getting attention from Black men, they're flirting, and then, you know, next thing you know, there's all these interracial couples everywhere. So it's like a lot of white women in the community, whereas I was even, Latasha, I was trying to find even a couple more Black women, and I can't get a lot of Black women to step up. So it's so weird to me that I can get a bunch of Black men and I can always find a bunch of white women, and I can't find a bunch of Black women, and I can't find a bunch of white men. So I don't know why that is either on the Black women.
Well, they feel like that they don't have a shot in this community, that it's either the Black man just want a white woman or the white women don't want anything but Black men. So they feel like they're left out in everything. Because
But it goes for attraction as well. If you're not attracted to somebody, if you look at them and it's not necessarily their skin tone, but say how they carry themselves, I'm sorry. Sorry, it's just not. Like, if you look like you just stepped out of your mother's basement after 30 years and you haven't seen the sun, I don't want to date you. You have no social skills? Bruh, like, no. And listen, I'm an equal opportunity dater. I will date white men, I will date Black men, I will date Hispanic men, older, younger, skinny, tall, short, fat, I don't care. But it's a matter of attraction. Like if you walk up to me and I'm thinking to myself, you look like an overage 13-year-old. Nope, don't want this. Don't want this. Like, no. I mean, it's not like you have to examine yourself in a way, you know what I'm saying? And that goes to your own self as well. You know, like I've had to examine myself in the past and been like, you know, would I date me if this is the type of person I'm trying to go for? But it's kind of like, well, she's fat, she should take anything. And it's like, I'm sorry, but have you met me? Like, I'm not going to take anything. Like, I'm sorry, Tiffany or Brittany or whoever, that anything might be good for you because you have low self-esteem. But this self-esteem is the bubbling, my cup is runneth over it with self-esteem. Sorry. I'm not going to take anything that decides to hit on me. If I did that, I would be going on 5 dates a day.
I love
I
it.
think we hit us talking about self-esteem, because when Maria asked me to be on the panel yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, let me do that. But I will tell you that not everybody comes into the community with that much confidence. And I think that's part of the reason why you didn't get a lot of diversity on the panel today. And to be honest, like there's a lot of issues, I think, amongst BBWs about being proud of themselves and being able to stand up and say, I am BBW. And guess what? You're going to like it or your boat going to sail. And we all can't do that, you know? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about this group is that there are those of us that are already empowered and there are those of us that are not. But just by sharing and being in the community, we lift each other up. And so more people start to say, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Let me step out of my comfort zone, right? So I think in terms of just getting diversities on the panel, it's more about asking people to take a chance and get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, and you know, I do want to have, you know, more conversations on different topics related to this kind of stuff where I do hope that maybe some people can become more comfortable in their skin, and realize their worth and their self-esteem, because there's so many topics we can explore in this community that are just really never spoken about. So, you know, we have a lot of episodes that we want to talk about. So if you guys ever have any ideas for a subject, a particular topic, please send me an inbox, and we can definitely put something together in regards to a specific topic you guys want to talk about. Savage, I know you wanted to say something.
That's actually a really good topic, because I'm gonna be very honest. All my life, I just been living the regular life. Like, I've never knew, into 2012, I never knew there was a BBW community, or for big people and people that love us or whatever. I've never ever heard of it until a guy was like, "Oh, you going to this BBW club?" I'm like, "What? Why do I want to do that? If I'm going to the regular clubs, I'm starting the club up because I don't know if you guys knew, I was a dancer. I was basically like a street dancer. So I would always go to the club and start off the club. Like, the whole dance floor is empty and I would bring everybody up to the floor. So why would I put myself in a category because I'm big, I have to go to these things? So I was like, you know what? One day I was like, oh, well, fuck it. Let me go. Let me see what it is all about. So when I went, there was a lot of, sorry to say this, but it felt like a lot of vultures. You know, you feel like there's like new blood, you know. But then once I start in there, and I'm like, this scenery, it wasn't for me because of that. I was getting the attention I didn't want. I was getting attention that all they wanted was to sleep with me, and that's not what I wanted. But then I see a lot of women that were low self-esteem, and they were just in a corner, not wanting to do anything. So I'm like, you know what? I do need to be here, because I need to get that little girl that doesn't want to come out and dance to be out of that little box. At least she's willing to come out and try to, you know, mingle, but she was still in a corner just drinking and not doing nothing. So I said, you know, my mission into coming into the community of being, you know, big girl and the BBW community, I don't like to be put a name that, oh, I'm just a BBW. Yes, I'm big. Yes, I'm beautiful, but I'm more than that. I'm just a human being. In my eyes, I'm human. I'm living. I'm just like everyone else. Just a lot of people don't accept me, but it's okay, because like what we stated before, we're not for everybody. So the reason why I became part of the BBW was for those people, those women that have low self-esteem. I would love to try and give a little bit of mine just so they can shine a little, because everybody can be the same and shining and be comfortable with their body. It's just a mindset. And it's something that you've been drilled on since you were little, like, oh, you're not supposed to do this, or you're not supposed to do that. But when are you going to let yourself go and have fun?
Right. Well, I mean, and on that subject, I will say, I don't know what parties or bashes you've attended, and we don't even need to mention which ones you've attended and gotten that vibe from. But I will say, I think you get what you get out of a bash, what you put into it, what you expect. I mean, everybody has a different experience, and I will say there are some women that want to go to a bash because they want to fuck, and they're grown, they want to fuck, and they're not hiding that the same like men, okay? But there are a lot of women that do go to the bashes because they want to meet new friends, and they want to step outside of their comfort zone, and they want, you know, to meet some really great new long.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about just bashes, because I'm gonna be honest, like I said, I've been in the whole shit since 2012. I've only done the clubs. I've been to the Tampas, I've been to Orlando. I even started one. I even was affiliated with one when they started. Like, I've been in the BBW world, and like I said, my reason of being is for those that are shy and want to come out, but it's like they don't know how to. Like, I really want them to feel comfortable. Like, when I go out and they see how I dress, they're like, okay, if she's wearing that, maybe I can wear that.
Right.
You know, if she's doing this, maybe I can do it too. Like, I just want them to see that it's not just about being an object, you know, like going somewhere.
Right. And so what I was just going to finish saying though is that I know that different parties and bashes have different vibes. And I love that you are one of those people that want to help maybe some not so confident people gain that confidence. And, you know, yes, this is a Curvy Ventures based group, and I hope that one day you can make one of our events, because I do feel, yeah, are you going to have people that still want to go there to hook up? Yeah, you're going to find that. But the vibe for the most part really is about the friendships, the empowerment there, and the good vibes and the acceptance, and having people come and step out of their comfort zone and then seeing them grow out of their shell. So I hope that maybe we'll see you at a future event, because I think you'll really like the vibe there, and you're going to find that you're going to be able to help some of those people that are new, that are sitting in that corner a little shy still, and you'll be able to help those people, you know, come out of their shell. I think the community is a great community. I think it was founded off of some really great reasons. I think some of those reasons got a little convoluted along the way, and got a little lost over the years. And so we're definitely trying to bring that back into the community. But overall, I think it really does help a lot of people with that. So I think that's all we have for questions tonight. I just kind of want to end it with, you know, I know that sometimes as a bigger person, we tend to say, and I think I talked about this maybe with Lori, we kind of tend to say, I'm sorry all the time. Like when you bump into someone, or if you're spilling over on a plane seat a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're always saying I'm sorry. And I don't think we need to say, I'm sorry. Like, I think that we're allowed to take up space, just like everyone else in the world. And we don't have to keep apologizing for who we are and for taking up space, because we deserve to be here just as much as the next person. So I personally am going to stop trying to say I'm sorry for, you know, bumping into somebody, you know, and I think a lot of people need to kind of just realize we don't need to apologize anymore. So I want to thank all of you guys so much for being our first panel tonight. I think there's some great conversation. I think there's some really, this could probably go on for hours, because there's so many different things that we could talk about in regards to topics like this. And I think it's really important and healthy that we continue these conversations and being open with each other. So thank you guys all so much, whether you were a panelist or whether you tuned in tonight for conversation. I really appreciate it. And I hope we see you guys on some future ones. Do any of you guys have any closing words for anybody? Any last comments? No, we're good.
Anybody who's never been to a Curvy Ventures event, I'm just going to say it right now, y'all need to come, because you come as strangers and you leave as family. It is just the most uplifting and empowering experience you're going to have. I promise you. And I love all y'all.
Thank you, Kimmy.
And I just want to give a shout out to Daryl and Ken. I've kind of been a wallflower in the community for a lot of years, just kind of in the cut. And this is kind of first year that I'm really kind of jumping back out there. And those two gentlemen I've seen consistently over the years being supportive, always fun, always lighthearted, always encouraging. So it's just good to see them on this panel. So shout out to them.
Good to see you, brother. I was wondering where you been, man. I ain't seen you in a minute.
Oh, man.
Back to the rating days.
Yeah, man. I've been out the way. But it's good to see y'all, man. I can't wait to link up with y'all. And if y'all coming in June, I can't wait to kick it with y'all.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Well, thank you guys all so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. And we'll catch you guys in the group, okay?
All right.
Hey, y'all.